Good afternoon, everybody. We are glad to have you here with us on our Innovation Rally. As many of you know, we do this Innovation Rally on home football weekends, and we have opportunities to bring in outstanding speakers and luminaries in the entrepreneurial and innovation space to talk a little bit about their experiences. My name is Brian Ritchie. I'm the Associate Provost, the John and Kathy Martin Associate Provost and Vice President for Innovation at the University of Notre Dame, and lead the Idea Center, who is the sponsor of these webinars. And glad to have you here with us. Let me tell you a little bit about the Idea Center. If you're not familiar, we are the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the University of Notre Dame. Our responsibility is to take all of the discoveries at the university from faculty, staff, students, primarily, and commercialize those technologies. So we're the ones who unlock those discoveries and fuel that genius and try to make something that can advance the common good and have an impact in the world. We also have entrepreneurship education, and today with us, our speaker will talk a little bit about her experience here in that as well, and we're very proud of that, both at a master's level and at an undergraduate level. And then many of you have participated in Idea Week, which is a celebration of entrepreneurship and innovation that we do once a year in this region. And we will do again this year, although probably in a hybrid, virtual and in-person kind of event. So we're looking forward to that as that's coming up as well. Normally, we would have had these innovation rallies in person, and we would have fed you all some lunch and been able to mingle and socialize together, but unfortunately, none of that is possible, although we're very happy to do them online, and we hope that once we get past COVID that we can start to resume these in person, hopefully next fall. Because this is a webinar, neither we as the speakers nor the other attendees can hear or see you. If you have questions for us, please use the Q&A feature within the Zoom app. If you send a chat, it will only get to certain folks, and it may not get to us either. So please use the Q&A portion of that, and we'll spend time in the last half of this webinar answering questions. Now, before I introduce our speaker, I should also make sure that I'm holding you all accountable for your role in this innovation rally. I'll just say to this point, we have never lost a home game on which we've had an innovation rally. So the pressure is on all of you. We have a huge game, as you know. Clemson's coming to town. This will be a very much a barometer in terms of how good we are this year. And we're counting on this rally to be the reason that we win. So Ashley, no pressure there, and all of the and all of you that are on this this podcast or on this webinar will root hard for the Irish here at this time. So now it's my great privilege to introduce our guest here today. Ashley Kalinauskas is the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Torigen Pharmaceuticals. Torigen is a company that focuses on the personalized cancer immunotherapy therapy for the veterinary market. Recently, Ashley was named to the highly coveted 2020 Forbes 30 Under 30 list, which is amazing. Congratulations. Ashley graduated from the University of Connecticut with an undergraduate degree in pathobiology and continued her studies at the University of Notre Dame with a master's degree in engineering, science, and technology entrepreneurship, which is the Idea Center's master's program in entrepreneurship. Her education provided her with the business skills necessary to translate inventions into commercial ventures like Torigen. This startup company resulted from her graduate thesis project and is based on the research of her former University of Notre Dame professor, Dr. Mark Sackow. Ashley has assembled an amazing team of veterinary professionals and immuno-oncology researchers to assist her in building Torigen and evaluating new cutting-edge therapies to consider folding into the company. It's a great privilege to have you here, Ashley. Thank you for taking some time. As a young CEO, a young entrepreneur, recently graduated in a very complex and technical environment, love to have you just tell us how you got here. You know, tell us about your educational experience and then what prompted you to do this instead of take a high-paying job at a consultancy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, really, when when I first went to undergraduate, I did my undergrad at the University of Connecticut. I was in the sciences because that's my passion. That's what I love. So I was actually doing some really cool vaccine work at the University of Connecticut. And I always love to think about the commercial possibility. So being in the sciences, it was really hard to actually go and take business classes. Like I had to personally fight to say, I want to get a business minor, because what I knew is that I didn't know if I wanted to go and do a straight PhD or go into medical school or veterinary school. I wanted to kind of maybe do a hybrid approach, because with my personality, I really loved science and I love that I can explain really complex scientific processes, but that I also knew that I could explain them really well. So I thought that marrying together science and business would just be a really great opportunity for what I was good at. So when I was graduating UConn, I started looking at different programs, and I really found one at Notre Dame, the STEAM program, that was that hybrid that I was looking for. Taking a technology and really being able to have the business acumen, taking all of the business classes and being able to understand what it would take for a product that's being developed in a lab to actually succeed commercially. So I was paired with Dr. Mark Succo, who his background was personalized cancer vaccines, and he had developed an amazing intellectual property portfolio while at the university, focused on prostate cancer, ovarian cancer, and melanoma cancer, being able to utilize a portion of the patient's own tumor as kind of the antigenic backbone to create a personalized cancer immunotherapy to provide back. So sitting down with him and really starting to understand and realize some of the research that he was working on, to take what he was doing and to go into the human field with this, gosh, like that's an uphill battle. And, at the time I was really thinking of it as, this is my thesis project. Like I need to make sure that I have something at the end. And I don't want to say that if this technology was to go into the human market, that it was going to cost $100 million and be the first hurdle, that the amount of capital needed to get something out the door was going to be the first stop in order to not have this technology ever make it into the hands of something that would be useful. So in further talking to him, he treated his own dog Sadie with his approach, and he got some blessings from the upper echelons at Notre Dame. But when his own dog was diagnosed with cancer, it was his daughters that said, "Dad, we really want you to be able to do something to help our dog." So he was able to create the personalized vaccine for Sadie, and that was veterinary patient number 1. And for me, I didn't know how many dogs actually got diagnosed with cancer. It started with Google. And Dr. Google told me that over 4 million to 6 million dogs each year get diagnosed with cancer, and an additional 4 to 6 million cats and over 1 million horses will have cancer as well. So when we talk about cancer in the veterinary space, right off the bat, I said, okay, this is a problem. And then we started looking into, well, what are the options here? What does a pet owner go through when they find out that their dog is recently diagnosed with cancer? And unless you decide to go forward with chemotherapy or radiation therapy, which the vast majority of pet owners either don't have access to a veterinary oncologist or don't want to put their pet through aggressive chemo or radiation, there really aren't options available for the general practitioner. So really what we said is that if we can have a product that can be created, that could be commercialized to help dogs, cats, and horses diagnosed with cancer, and we can make it affordable and accessible, while still, of course, maintaining safety and efficacy, that this really could be a product that would be poised to succeed in the veterinary market. So, kind of really building off of my time at Esteem, I really utilized the classes as a learning exercise. I was able to, take business financial modeling and apply it to Torigen to say, is this a company that could succeed based on the numbers that we're seeing, based on the market size, based on the potential that this has. And really, I worked through it step by step by step. And the business plan competition at Notre Dame really helped me accelerate that. Being able to finally put it down on paper, that this could be a real business, that this really could work, allowed me to say by the end of my time at Esteem that this could be something that we could launch.
Wow, what a great story. I mean, you see this so often where uh, people in your stage of life and development often will get to the end of a master's program like this, and it's economics that really drive their decisions, right? I mean, it's kind of like, hey, I've got a lot of debt. I need a good paying job. I'm being offered this tremendous opportunity at name the big consulting organization, right? And and yet you looked at this and said, no, I want to go down this entrepreneur path. Talk to me about that. Kind of what was going through your head at that time? You're coming up on graduation. You just mentioned, hey, I think I've got something here, but you didn't own the technology at this point, right? You're going to have to go get the technology, and there was some complications there, and at the same time, it was, it's still an upward hurdle, even if it's not human trials. It's still animal trials. It's all this stuff. Talk to me about where your head was and why you felt like this was the right thing to do and where you found that courage.
Yeah, so I really kind of came into Esteem with a job offer from a company that I had interned with. And it was a really cool medical device startup. I was so excited. I was going to be, they wanted me for potentially international business development. Who wouldn't want to
Wow.
fly to Italy and see the world? But I knew that I had something here that could be really special, and really, if I worked hard at it, could become something bigger than myself and bigger than, something that I knew had legs, that if I were to take that job offer right then and there, it wouldn't have been able to continue forward. So, what was really the deciding point comes down to that economic piece. I was going to graduate, and where was I going to live? How was I going to feed myself? And I'm just turning down this job offer in order to be an entrepreneur. Just ramen noodles keeps flashing through your mind for quite
Right.
a while. But I had a really great opportunity to work with a company called Cook. So Cook Biotech ended up the research that Mark had worked on. They had a specific adjuvant. So an adjuvant is anything used to kind of further stimulate the immune system. And the adjuvant that Cook had used, and they have in different iterations used in millions of human patients as a medical device. It's a novel biomaterial that, when brought down to the particulate level, really has some very interesting in vivo responses for being able to activate the immune system.
Hmm.
So the technology originally went from Notre Dame to Cook, and Cook, being a medical device company, not a vaccine company, wanted to see this have legs. So I was invited from the president of Cook Biotech to come and work as an intern at Cook in order to see whether or not Torigen was something that had the momentum that I thought it did. And by working alongside Cook, I was really able to get access to their research scientists, to their heads of quality and regulatory. I was able to not be a solo entrepreneur in the sense of how this is an insurmountable task. I was able to leverage the experience of others working inside of a large company to really see, can I do this? So I worked at Cook for just about a year, immediately after the STEAM program, in order to really be able to build what we have. And also we were able to start treating our first patients to understand, okay, like what is our overall safety profile initially here, and how are we going to be able to understand what goes on. And through that process, we pivoted like 20 times pretty early on to understanding what's a model that would work, who's our primary target market, how do we educate the market and educate the community. And then, of course, the big thing was I needed to get that technology license, and I needed to be able to have that for Torigen. So working with Cook and working with Notre Dame, we were able to out-license the technology for Torigen for the veterinary market. So even to this day, I still work collaboratively with Cook. They supply us with the biomaterial, but they're also such a great Indiana company that really is able to step up to the plate and wants to help entrepreneurs be able to succeed, because Cook is a multinational giant medical device company, and their individual divisions that they have, Cook Biotech in particular, was started by grad students from Purdue University. So they really were able to see, like, yeah, there could be something here, and I appreciate them taking the chance on me and being able to say that they thought there was something like I did as well.
Wow, what a great story. And is Cook a business partner of yours now as well, or just a technology partner? I mean, do they have a stake in the company?
So they are a business partner in the fact that we purchase the biomaterial from them. So we have a supply agreement. We also have a licensing agreement. And then we have, if Torigen were to be acquired, that both companies were able to be successful, then they would get a little bit of the proceeds on the back end too, which, being such a great partner, it's something that it's like, that was a good deal for us to make.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to me about building the team. So now you're out, you've worked at Cook for a little while, you've licensed the technology, you've started Torigen, you've got this great relationship with Cook where they're partnering with you on many of the technical and supply issues. But now you've also got to build a team, right? Talk to me about the team. How big is it? Where have you found people? What kind of people did you go after first as the most important part of that team? And tell me what you spend most of your time on day to day.
Yeah, definitely. So me and Mark, he's our chief technology officer. He's the co-founder of the technology, and he's my partner in Torigen. And Mark and I, we see eye to eye on so many things, and he is by my side every step of the way. So when we initially were like, kind of the decision of, I'm turning down a job offer in order to do this, I need to have you be by my side. He said he would, and to this day, he has been every way. So it's just been a really great working relationship for us to be able to kind of take things forward together. So after kind of really like launching, getting it out, there were 2 esteemed students that helped us, and one of them, he's involved on a almost daily basis with us too, and he's been such an instrumental component for building up our back-end databases for all of our data that we store. So being able to leverage the relationships that we have in Esteem has been super helpful. And then we initially worked with 2 great veterinarians. One had a background in entrepreneurship, and another had a background in veterinary surgery. So we were kind of like the initial team that started to really be able to build and scale, and really within with the veterinary surgeon, we worked within his practice to really find out build our safety data and build our efficacy data for being able to say that we truly have something here. But we did that with almost zero capital whatsoever, outside from money that was put in. We were moonlighting. We were doing things when we could do it. I moved
That's
back
the
home.
ramen noodle time, right?
It was quite the ramen noodle time. I moved back home to Connecticut after Cook. I lived with my roommate, also known as my dad. My dad's on the call. Thanks, Dad. So was able to take a consulting job, but also work on Torigen nights and weekends. So directly next door before to the consulting company that I work for, I had a little lab, and every night I would go over and we would set up the lab and I would work on building Torigen. And during that time I worked on how do we have to effectively capitalize what we're doing, because we needed money and we needed venture money in order to truly start bringing the people in, as well as scaling up the market education, the sales, the all the additional studies that we have to do. We had to build up all of those components. So we initially took the kind of like the first round of convertible debt. Notre Dame did participate, as well as Connecticut Innovations and the University of Connecticut. So we had kind of the initial capital come in for us to start growing, and I was able to hire an employee, but I was also able to switch over to Torigen full time.
Right.
So I was really able and really lucky to be able to, finally have a salary to support myself from the company in order to focus 150% on building what I knew could work. So from there, in 2019, we brought on a Series Seed round. So kind of our first true equity round was conducted, led by Connecticut Innovations, also SoGal Ventures, a woman-led venture-based company. And then we had prominent angels participate alongside that round, as well as a few angel groups. So we were able to use that capital to say, we need to build the best team possible, and we need to get our market traction. We need to get out publications on what we're doing. We need to build out both the research and development and the sales components of Torigen, of who we are. And we spent the past, from 2019 until 2020, truly doing that and truly building. So now I think I'm at 12 full-time employees, which has been amazing to be able to build. And it's also been, as a young entrepreneur, learning on a daily basis. Today I had to do something for 401k plans. I don't know what that is. I kind of sometimes have to learn on the fly. But I think what I do know, and what I love and where my passion is, when our phone rings. I love talking to the pet owner that just found out that their dog was diagnosed with cancer and they're looking for additional treatment options. I love talking to veterinarians and being able to tell them that we offer a solution that they can provide in their clinic to finally help these pets with cancer that otherwise would have not gone forward with any therapy. Mm-hmm. So I love being able to connect with my customer and be able to connect to say, there could be an option where we might be able to help you here.
That's fantastic. Talk to me about the growth of the company from a sales standpoint. Are you in sales now? And are you selling primarily to the veterinarians? Talk to me about the business model a little bit and the progress that you've made there.
Yeah, so we are an experimental product regulated by the USDA. However, we are able to sell our service. So our service is creating the personalized cancer vaccine. So in 2019, we started kind of growing our initial sales. We did about 176,000 in revenue. But then 2020 was really let's prime ourselves for growth. You guys all know what happened in 2020. What a great year it's been. But I hired an amazing director of sales, and our sales director we brought on in January, and then we hired our first sales employee in February, and then COVID hit, so that was fun. But not that we switched our strategy. We looked internal on our strategy. We said we have a few things going on. we need to educate the market. And the best way to do that is hosting lunch and learns with
Mm.
oncologists, with general practicing veterinarians. And we're going to really focus on setting up these lunch and learn webinars. But at the same time, veterinary clinics are now compounded with so many different things that they have to now try to, they're doing telemedicine, curbside medicine. They're trying to figure out what the best way is to adapt to COVID. So kind of the months we thought we were going to start seeing the growth in April, and so pretty much March, April, May, we saw like a good stagnant, which like stagnant isn't bad in
Yeah,
my
that's
mind.
right. Survival is a good
But
thing.
we survived, but we also looked towards research. So we had mouse model studies that were ongoing, and we had some additional groups of mice that we were like, we have a kind of an interesting idea that could essentially take our platform technology that we have, the personalized cancer vaccines, and maybe add on an additional component to it. So during that time, we focused heavily on research, and we had this kind of mouse model study with a group of the crazy idea going. So we were looking at different ways to boost the immune system and make our vaccine potentially maintain safety, but maybe even increase efficacy just a little bit by tilting different pulls and levers of the immune system.
Mhm.
And we actually found that the crazy idea outperformed every other kind of normal
Nice.
traditional adjuvanting structure, which has resulted in new intellectual property for the company, but also something that's super exciting and really easy to explain. So we went from idea back in February, March, to testing it out throughout kind of the height of COVID, to building out a larger study to say, does this really work? And now we're in the final refining process to be able to potentially, come the start of this year, treat a canine patient with our new optimized personalized vaccine. Which, what other company can go from idea to potentially in-market clinical test in such a short period of time? So that part has been super exciting, to be able to innovate within the company and be able to provide something that we think has some really good clinical benefit. So between Q2 to Q3, we grew our revenues over 47%. And for Q4, we're going to blow it
Awesome.
out of the water. So
That's
we're
awesome.
going to, we finally, come June, started to see the growth that we were projecting from the beginning of the year. We were able to, in September, have an additional 2 sales employees join us full time, which has been amazing. And then we're still focused on kind of both components: the research of building Torigen to be a larger company, the additional clinical studies and regulatory components of nailing all of those down, while also really focusing on market development and growth at the same time.
That's fantastic. So in this growth, and I know that initially you were talking about how big the hurdle was to take this technology into humans, and you have the license from Cook to do veterinary. What do you see on the horizon for the transition to humans? Do you see that something Torigen would ever look at or want to look at, or is this just going to be done by Cook or somebody else?
So I think kind of when you take on venture capital, of course, like the thing is focus.
Yeah.
Build a team to truly have your focus, like be laser sighted. So we've built an amazing veterinary team, and
Yeah.
veterinary medicine is what we know. It's who we have on the team. We have a veterinary oncologist as our chief medical officer, and he's incredible as well. So it's being able to say, this is our line sight. However, I always have the vision of what is over here. So I see the data that Torigen brings to immuno-oncology as our biggest asset. meaning that with the new technology that we've added on, or through different partnerships that we can leverage from early stage human health companies, we're able to test in dogs how different immunotherapeutics can work, how we can modulate the immune system, and we can have a revenue pathway within a shorter period of time than just focusing on human health alone. So I see Torigen's main growth factor as how can we take a technology and package it up with a nice little bow so that either we can tap into it when we're ready, or we can out-license a de-risked technology with canine data behind it.
Interesting. It's almost like doing a large animal study for the human market at some point.
You would
Super
have to
interesting.
do it anyway.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you want to potentially do it for a way that can generate some early revenue
Yeah,
while
absolutely.
building with the team whose expertise is in veterinary oncology? So my vision for the company, I want to be the market leader in veterinary oncology. I want to have pet owners know who we are, that we're a company that's taking the leading edge. And I want to be able to really make a stamp to say, we're here, and we're putting our name in the hat, that we want to help fight, and we want to be a friend in the fight with our best friends who are fighting cancer.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you just raised a round a little while ago. What's on the horizon for the next round? Are you, from a capitalization standpoint, is that coming again soon?
Yeah, so we have an open round right now. So kind of the entrepreneurship's lovely wheel is always be raising and always be closing. So we do have a round that's open currently, going into a true Series A. So we are bringing on that capital to really be able to say that we want to grow our monthly revenues to really have a sustainable annual revenue run rate, but then at the same time be able to fulfill this strategy. So the strategy is that we've identified 2 additional products and product lines that could be taken into the veterinary space. So our benchmarks are, of course, safe, effective, and then affordable and accessible. These need to be accessible therapies that the pet owner and the veterinarian can utilize, so that the veterinarian in the vet's clinic can be able to offer. So we're looking at the ability for us to take on these additional 2 product lines and be able to plug and play it into our existing Torigen system. So we're looking at oncolytic viral technologies as well as specific monoclonal antibody technologies, because we know that both of those, we have some specific indications. We know what we want this product to look like, what we want this product to do, what the price point is going to be, and we can plug it into our existing sales structures.
Very nice, very nice. So let me ask you maybe a more delicate question, but one that I think our listeners would love to hear you talk about, and that is that as a female entrepreneur, you know the numbers. I mean, that very small numbers of female entrepreneurs get funded. Very small numbers of female entrepreneurs are really leading high growth companies at this stage. Now the numbers are growing, but I'd love to hear your experience. What have been the hurdles, the challenges, the successes, the failures, whatever you'd like to talk about there. We at the Idea Center are very interested in how we help everyone get engaged in entrepreneurship, and how it's open to all cultures, all races, all genders, all, as diverse as we can make it. Talk to me about those challenges. Talk to me about where you are and how you see this and what you'd like to see changed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the statistics of just a few percent of women led companies are companies that end up getting the venture funding that they need in order to succeed. However, women-led businesses are more likely to succeed and more likely to be revenue generating and cash flow positive over a shorter period of time than their male venture-backed founded counterparts. So I think there's kind of a flip side, so that, women aren't getting funded at the rate that men are, and people of color aren't getting funded at the same rate. And I think think that needs to change because the companies that are being launched have such an amazing ability for there to be success on the back end, and that we need to work together in order to make it like essentially, there doesn't need to be a gender inequality, and there doesn't need to be a racial inequality. It needs to be, what do we think fundable businesses are going to be in order to succeed? So from my experience personally, I mean, there's so many times where I'm on, a venture call, and I'm the only woman there. And, initially I was really intimidated by that. And I was really intimidated by, like, am I saying the right things?
Mhm.
Like, oh, some of the feedback, oh, what a great little company, young female CEO, she's helping pets with cancer. And I'm like, well, you do understand, like, yes, like, it's pretty cute, like helping pets with cancer. I love my dog, you love your dog, but you understand my business model. You understand that I have high capability for generating revenue here, and that I have a vision in order for us to become this market leader. So it's not a cute company helping pets with cancer. This is a venture backable business that's going to lead to success. And with enough capital coming in, I can be able to replicate what those multiples are going to be. So instead of one product on the market, I can build in two other products with a plug and play model that can build out what our exitable opportunities are.
Right.
So it's about being able to showcase, and maybe it does take a little bit longer to get through like that initial bam of how am I making the lasting impact here? But it's about changing that conversation to say that here's what I have developed, and here is my vision in order for us to go and capitalize on it. And it's funny, I sit through a lot of business pitches, and between women pitches and then kind of male counterpart venture pitches, you see like the young male go out and have this like crazy high revenues with the exponential growth curve, and all of these like giant numbers in there, which is great, which is definitely what could happen. But kind of in the back of that VC's mind is, the one thing that they know is that you're not going to hit any of those numbers. So, and I always kind of end up taking a little bit more of a conservative approach. And I feel like women in general take more conservative approaches on their addressable markets, on their overall revenue potential. And I think we have to kind of work to coming in the middle.
Yeah.
So I've been working with some really great mentors. So some of my current investors, as well as our law firm has a great venture accelerator as well, in order to, just like they need to like pull the numbers out a little bit larger. I'm like, no, this is what I really feel. And they're like, make it bigger, because with more capital, can it be bigger? And if you shake your head yes that it can be, then ask for that capital and ask and show what that revenue potential is going to be. So that's been something, instead of thinking kind of small-minded day to day, thinking about the biggest picture possible and being able to showcase how we're going to tackle each component of that with the strategy behind it. So I think that's been something that I've been working on over the past few months, to really nail down what that vision is, what that strategy is, and being able to have the numbers that support each of those components in a, what I feel is a still really realistic, attainable model for us.
That's it. You bring up some great points there. There's the general challenge of just learning the venture world, right? I mean, even as an entrepreneur, you can be an entrepreneur and not have any idea how venture works, right? Maybe you're going to bootstrap it. Maybe you're going to, find some other way to get it where you want it to go. Venture is its own animal. And then on top of that, learning the venture vernacular, learning the venture sort of recipe, is this whole difference between genders and cultures and the way we approach things and the way we build things. And I really like your idea of coming to maybe, having there be influence from the female side to the male side of getting real about the numbers, and at the same time also maybe the other direction, saying how can we really, if we were going to blow this up and we really did get the right capital, what would be possible? And that's exciting to think about. Ashley, I love your energy. I love your excitement, and I just listening to you makes me want to, to do something to help you succeed. It's super cool. Just to hear what you're doing. We have a few questions. Are you okay if we jump into some question and answer here from some of the listeners?
Absolutely.
So we have one here from Crew who says, as a current student in STEAM, he's right now, what is something you wish you took more advantage of or did differently during your time at Notre Dame as you were founding Torigen?
Ooh, great
Yeah,
question.
good question. I thought so
That's
too.
a good one. So I mean, when I was in the STEAM program, I was definitely like, pretty heads down of can I really do something with this, and can I really make this a reality? So I probably could have had a little bit more fun, but I would say that it all kind of really ended up working out. That I was in the greenhouse, many a Friday night until 10 o'clock midnight, really working on this. And I was able to really leverage the Notre Dame community as well, especially from the business plan competition, connected us to a lot of different avenues. I think that where the company was when I was just graduating and just stepping out, we were just a little too early. Like, we were a little too early to take on money. We didn't have the license agreement that we needed in order to have a true company. And it was going to take a lot longer. I think I wish that I had I wish I even had moved faster through that whole process. Like, be able to just kind of get it in, make a decision, and make a decision fast, and be able to move and keep moving forward. And I think that kind of as a student, that's really hard, right? Like, how many decisions have you truly had to make, especially in the business world? Like, zero. So being able to make those decisions right off the bat, now looking back, I would be able to know, like, good agreement, bad agreement, good deal, bad deal, good decision, bad decision, and be able to navigate. But it just takes a lot of learning, and it takes a lot of experience and knowing where all of those potholes were going to be in order for me to step into or kind of avoid. And I also looked a lot to mentors and being able to kind of help understand which direction we should go. And I think I just wish I moved a little bit faster, even in the first beginning. So when you're interested in kind of becoming an entrepreneur, either now or later in life, I think it really does come down to, it's going to take a lot longer than you anticipate. The words of David Murphy, I'll never forget. It's going to take twice as long and cost twice as much as you initially project out, and that's like absolutely true. But by being able to make some decisions faster and just saying, like, I'm gonna figure this out as we go, I think really helps companies get off the ground faster.
Great answer. Great answer. I just am thinking about your comment on your focus and how hard you worked, the assiduousness about your approach. I actually think that's a key to success, right? I mean, you could have said, well, maybe I could have had more fun while I was there, but chances are you wouldn't be where you are now if you had more fun. So
Yeah.
not that we shouldn't have a little fun, but I'm impressed with how often entrepreneurs really do have to just, just white hot, insatiably focus on what it is they're doing. So talk to me a little bit about what it's like being an entrepreneur. You talked a little bit about how hard you worked and the focus that you had to put in on this, and I'm sure you've experienced this now. Our experience at the Idea Center is that these businesses are a bunch of highs and a bunch of lows, right? I mean, it's easy to get really excited and it's easy to get really discouraged, and keeping that even keel and making sure that your mental health is good is also important. So talk to me about just what is it like being an entrepreneur from your perspective?
Well, I've likened it in presentations before where you're getting thrown out of an airplane and you need to assemble a parachute on the way down before you hit the ground.
No pressure, right? No pressure.
No pressure at all. I think it really, the highs and the lows of entrepreneurship are there on a daily basis, if not an hourly basis.
Yeah. Yeah, well
know,
said.
my day is so diverse, which is something that I love. I love being able to go from, all right, understanding regulatory strategy to helping out in what's going on in the lab to talking to the pet owner and talking to the veterinarians. I love that because it keeps me engaged and keeps me moving. But if one of those components, there's a problem or it goes wrong, that roller coaster can happen really, really fast of like, okay, how do I fix this? What do I need to do? I need to collect myself, but I need to keep moving. And, there's times where I just want to sit on the couch and I'm going to take that hour for myself in order to sit here and kind of collect myself and come back to it. But that roller coaster only keeps going when you get back up. And you have good days and you have bad days. You have successes and wins that you just brought on a new customer and you got an amazing success story that like helps fuel you. And then like the next minute, the investor says no, and something happens with the cat you're treating and you're like, oh no, what do I do? But it's all about kind of being able to just keep building on it. And things that used to affect me really early on, now I'm able to just be like, all right, something's not working. We need to change this and be able to confront it. One thing that I have done that I felt has been super helpful for me, I'm part of a group. One of our investors introduced me to this. It's called Build Without Burnout, and it's for entrepreneurs. So it's for CEOs to come
Yeah.
together in a small group, and essentially we talk about what's going on. So the first Build Without Burnout group, it was me, a veterinary immuno-oncology company, with a wine company and a makeup company. So
Wow.
like 3 completely different industries, but we all had exactly the same problems. And
Yeah.
that was what was most eye-opening, that the problems that the wine company was facing as to how do I keep getting all of these investor requests? How am I supposed to kind of, what am I supposed to say when this happens? And what do I do I'm having this employee issue. How do I motivate my employees better? When I'm having the roller coaster day, how do I make sure my team doesn't see the bottom of that hill and they start seeing like our upswing? And together it was amazing to be able to talk that you're not alone in this.
Right.
Every company at this similar stage is going through similar things. So whether it's a veterinary company or a makeup company, at the end of the day, we had the same issues because we were both focused on growing our companies.
Yeah, no, great point. We have a saying at the Idea Center that things are never as good as they seem, and they're never as bad as they seem.
Very, very true.
Oh, never get too high and never get too low, right? It's just keep
Definitely.
plugging, keep working, and things are likely to turn out at the end, which goes back to your focus point and your hard work point, right? That's usually where the returns are. So we have a question here about your experience with the McCloskey Business Plan Competition, which is now our new venture formation competition. What was your experience there, and what was great about being a part of that?
Yeah. So McCloskey, like the best part about it was that it made me put it down on paper that this could be a real company if I were to work at it.
Yeah.
So the first part of McCloskey was writing down an executive summary. So the first executive summary of Torigen to the executive summary I have today, I've probably gone through 1,000 iterations, but what am I doing? What's the problem that I'm looking to solve? Which is, I want to help pets with cancer. What's my solution? We utilize a personalized cancer immunotherapy that takes a portion of the patient's own tumor to create it into a series of vaccines. Who are my customers? My customers are the 42,000 general practitioners that are removing tumors on a daily basis. And how am I going to grow this company? So it really allowed me to put those thoughts down and enter it into the competition. And I think some people may know the story of kind of how Torigen got its name. I went home for fall break when I was a student, and I had a really close friend of mine pass away.
Oh, I'm
And
so sorry.
and her name was Tori. And when I got back to campus, I said, I want to do something that if I'm going to change the world, I want to, have a few angels beside me in order to help with that. So she loved animals, and that was what I was focused on doing. So we named the company Torigen, and just putting it down on paper made it real. It
Yeah.
made it that like this is something that I can accomplish. So the next phase of the McCloskey Business Plan competition was focused on writing out your whole plan. What are your financials? How are you going to make this work? What is this going to look like? And then the last part was being able to effectively pitch it. So throughout the year-long process, it was able for me to focus on what are the steps that need to be completed in order for me to have a viable business venture on the back end. So at the end of McCloskey, did I have a viable business? I had a really viable idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had a business at that point, but I had something, and I had something that I wanted to continue working on. And if it wasn't for the plan competition, I don't think I would be here today.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love the difference between a good idea that you're forced to write out versus the actual execution of that plan, and how many times you've pivoted in when you've gotten to the actual running of the business. You're like, wow, I had an idea it was going to look like this, but it really looks like that, right? And that always happens. Yep, and it keeps moving. And so I appreciate the way that you explain that. This has been so fun, Ashley. I'd like to end with one last question. For all of those entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs out there listening to you, and I know there's a lot of them, what would be your final advice, or not final advice, but advice you'd leave to them as a final part today, as they consider this, as they think about how to do what you're doing, how to model what they're doing after what you've done? What would you want to say to them?
I would say that going into entrepreneurship, you have to go in with it's not going to be easy. Every day is not going to be easy, but you need to put the elbow grease into it. You need to put the hard work down. You need to have the hard conversations up front. You need to be able to really build out an entity with an idea, customer problem, solution that you believe you would be able to solve, and then start picking away at it. It's not this exponential growth to success. It's all of the little pieces that go in behind it. So Uber as an example. Uber started off as like a black car service that
That's right.
how do people aren't going to choose between using Uber or using a taxi, but they were able to pivot in their model to say that we have this gig economy that's kind of underneath us. They made the term gig economy, that people actually want to be working, and maybe if we give them the technology solutions, they would be able to bring strangers into their car. So they took something that was so foreign, and also foreign from their business initial plan, to actually making it a reality and making it a multi-billion-dollar company. But if they had never started, and they had never said, like, we're gonna start this first few process in order to get there, it wouldn't be where it is today. And same thing with Torigen. My company, if it didn't take the elbow grease that I was putting it in behind it, there were so many different points that we could have just, hey, time to close up shop, like before there was any capital into the company. If I took that big consulting job that I was super exciting about and decided to go forward with that for my career, that's a close the door. But I'm
Yeah.
so happy that I kept working at it, and I kept putting in the time and the effort, because this is something that I know I can help, and I know that I can, again, change my little piece of the world. Like, I want to leave a lasting imprint of being able to help the world for good. So I think, like, when a student is at that bifurcation of graduation, that's probably like the hardest point of, do I keep doing this, or do I take this job? Can I find a way to do a combo of both? But if I do a combo of both, how am I going to be diligent enough to essentially force myself after hours to keep working on this? So for me, it took that extra space. It took the momentum. It took a lot of like people realizing that there was potential behind this, not just me. And then, at the end, it really took the capital necessary for us to flip that over into growth capital.
Yeah. Ashley, this has been so fun. I really appreciate your willingness to spend some time talking through your experiences. So many great learnings for those that are listening today from your experience. And I appreciate you sharing all of those and in all aspects, right? As an entrepreneur, as a female entrepreneur, as a young entrepreneur, as someone in the sciences and the STEM. And these are all very different experiences than maybe other industries or other areas. So we appreciate you taking a minute and sharing with us your experiences and your insights and your wisdom. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it, Brian.
Yep. So thank you everyone else who participated with us today. I just want to mention that this will also be a podcast. We will put this up on our website. So if you would like to return to this or share this with others, we would invite you to do so and invite you to return often as we interview other really exciting entrepreneurs like Ashley. Again, just want to remind you of your responsibility to help the Irish win tomorrow, which is going to be very important against Clemson. So give us all your very best juju tomorrow, and hopefully we'll pull out a win. So again, thank you everybody for being here with us today, and we hope you have a fantastic weekend. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you. Bye-bye.